as Clerk of the National Assembly on 9th August 2022, and that Mr. Roy Ngulube, Deputy Clerk Administration, was appointed to act as Clerk of the National Assembly from 9th August 2022 for administrative conveniences.
After the announcement, there was a ministerial statement by the Minister of Tourism. He did make a statement on the human-animal conflicts in Chama, Kasenengwa, Secretaries, and other parts of the country, following a directive by Madam Speaker on a matter of urgent public importance raised by Mr. P. Twaga, Mr. T. Mutinta, and Mr. D. Mungandu, members of Parliament for Kasenengwa, Secretaries, and Chama South Parliamentary constituencies, respectively, on Tuesday, 20th September 2022. The Minister briefed the House on the measures being taken to mitigate the human-animal conflict.
The second statement was made by the Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security, and the statement was on the political violence that took place during the Luangwa Council Chairperson by-election, following a directive by Madam Speaker on a matter of urgent public importance that was raised by Mr. Davidson Mungandu, Member of Parliament for Chama South Parliamentary Constituency. And in his statement, the Minister did brief the House on the measures being taken to prevent political violence before, during and after elections.
So after those ministerial statements, the House went on to consider questions for oral answer numbers 38 to 42, understanding order number 17.
And after that, we had continuation of debate, and this is to the motion of thanks, that the thanks of the Assembly be recorded for exposition of public policy contained in the President's address, moved by Kabwe Central Member of Parliament, Ms. Chrysosta Halwindi, on 13th September 2022, and this was followed the official opening of the second session of the 13th National Assembly. And after the time being 12:46, the House did adjourn. So on the other side, we'll be looking at today's business as we look at today's order paper. Please do not go away.
On the floor of the House today, Tuesday, 27th September 2022. We've got one question for all answer, understanding order number 24, and thereafter there's going to be resumption of debate on a motion of thanks, His Excellency, the President's address.
Right, so the question for oral answer comes from Chama South, a Member of Parliament, Mr. Davidson Mungandu, who has directed his question to the Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security, and wants to find out what the status of the case of a Department of National Parks and Wildlife officer who was accused of shooting to death a Mr. Patrick Nguni of Shwanamuna in Chama district in 2020 is, and why the accused was transferred to a new location before the matter was concluded in the courts of law.
Thereafter, there's going to be the resumption of debate on a motion of thanks, His Excellency the President's address, a motion that was moved by Kabwe Central Member of Parliament, Ms. Chrysosta Halwindi, and seconded by Nkana MP, Mr. Bino. So last to confide, we did see quite a number of cabinet ministers debating this particular motion, and the last day for debating this motion is tomorrow, September 20th.
Right, and so that was following an announcement that the motion is supposed to be debated for maximum of about 10 days, and the last few days were reserved for members of the cabinet to also make contributions, and also alongside responding to some of the issues that were raised during the course of debate on this particular motion. Like Claudette has indicated, we expect lots of other cabinet ministers who did not take part in the debate on Friday to make their contributions. Just about now, the Honorable Madam Speaker's procession is making way into the House, and now we send you to the floor of the House. Stay tuned to Parliament Television as we continue to bring Parliament closer to you.
Honorable Members of Parliament, Madam Speaker.
dancing of Zambia, proud and free, land of wealth and joy in unity, victors in the struggle for the right. We want freedom's fight for one, strong and free. Africa is our own motherland, fashioned with and blessed by those good men. Let us all our people join as one, brothers under the sun. Oh, one, strong and free. One land and one nation is our cry. Dignity and peace in Zambia's sky, like a noble eagle in its flight. Zambia, praise to thee, oh one, strong and free. Praise be to God, praise be, bless our great Zambia, Zambia, Zambia. Remain we stand under the flag of our land. Zambia, praise to thee, oh one, strong and free.
Prayer. Almighty God, who in your infinite wisdom and providential goodness has appointed the offices of leaders and parliaments for the welfare of society and the just government of the people, we beseech you to consider with your abundant favor us, your servants, whom you have been pleased to call to the performance of such important responsibilities in this land. Let your blessing descend upon us here in Parliament assembled, and grant that we may, as in your presence, treat and consider all matters that shall come under our deliberation in so just and faithful a manner as to promote your honor and glory, and to advance the peace, prosperity, and welfare of our country, and of those whose interests you have committed to our charge. Amen. Honorable members, I have one announcement to make. I would like to inform you that the National Assembly of Zambia has established Youth Parliamentary Caucus, ZYPC, a voluntary group consisting of youthful members of parliament who are passionate about the youth and would like to advance youth interests in parliament. The caucus is therefore set to be launched tomorrow, Wednesday, 28th September 2022, at Parliament Buildings in the amphitheater at 0930 hours. In this regard, all honorable members of Parliament are encouraged to attend the event. Please note that attendance will be on a voluntary basis. I thank you. I have one ruling to make. This is my ruling on a point of order raised by Mr. S. Kampyongo, Member of Parliament for Shuangandu constituency, against Honorable R.M. Piri, Minister of Agriculture, on whether the minister was in order to mislead the House when he stated that the government did not purchase fertilizer during the previous farming season, when he was on record for having confirmed that government single-sourced a company to supply fertilizer to Southern Province and other regions during that period. Honorable members, the House will recall that on Wednesday, 14th September 2022, when the House was considering question for oral answer number 8 on the order paper, and the Honorable R.M. Piri, Minister of Agriculture, was on the floor, Mr. S. Kampyongo, Member of Parliament for Shuangandu constituency, raised a point of order. In his point of order, Mr. S. Kampyongo MP asked whether the Honorable Minister was in order to mislead the House and the nation at large by stating that this was the first time the government was purchasing fertilizer. Mr. S. Kampyongo MP added that the Honorable Minister was on record for informing the House that government had single-sourced a company to supply fertilizer to Southern Province and some other regions during the period. In my immediate response to the point of order, I informed Mr. S. Kampyongo, MP, that it was difficult for me to recall the alleged statement. I then asked the Honorable Member whether he had any evidence to lay on the table to support his assertion in order to assist me address the matter. In response, Mr. S. Kampyongo, MP, stated that he would provide the necessary information. For that reason, I reserved my ruling. Honorable members, despite his undertaking to provide evidence to support his point of order, Mr. S. Kampyongo, MP, has to date not laid any such evidence on the table. On that basis, my ruling is that the point of order is inadmissible. Honorable members, may I take this opportunity to guide the House that a member who raises a point of order based on documentary evidence is required to lay the document on the table of the House soon after he or she raises the point of order. Therefore, henceforth, I will not entertain any point of order which is based on a document if that document is not laid on the table of the House. I thank you. Question for oral answer, understanding order 74. The Honorable Member for Chama South.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. On behalf of the people of Chama South and the Patrick Ngoni's family, the late Patrick Ngoni's family, question number 43, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, Honorable Davidson Mungandu, Member of Parliament for Chama South, Parliamentary Constituency, asked the following questions. A, what is the status of the case of the Department of National Parks and Wildlife officer who was accused of shooting to death a Mr. Patrick Ngoni at Swanamuna in Chama district in 2020 is, and B, why the accused was transferred to a new location before the matter was concluded in the courts of law. Madam Speaker, in responding to the questions raised by Honorable Mungandu, I wish to inform the House that A, the officer from the Department of National Parks and Wildlife who was arrested and charged for the murder of Mr. Patrick Ngoni in Swanamuna area and Chief Chikwa of Chama district appeared in the Chinsali High Court on 3rd June 2022. and a nolle prosequi was entered. B, the accused person was transferred from Chama to Chinsadi Correctional Facility to facilitate for court appearance when his case was committed to the High Court in Chinsali. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you. Supplementary questions, Honorable Member for Chama South.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I'm aware that a murder case is the case of the people versus the accused. But there are family members that are involved. In this case, there was a loss of life. Honorable Minister, this officer was transferred, released from prison, I think 2 years ago. And he was working before they entered that no prosecute. Were family members involved or informed when your government decided to enter no prosecute? Because as family members, they are still waiting to be briefed on the way forward. Or the government on its own, the Attorney General, decided to enter a no prosecute without briefing the family members. If the answer is yes, why was it done in such a manner? I submit, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. For the information of the Honorable Member of Parliament for Chama South, please be advised that the Attorney General has no jurisdiction whatsoever in criminal matters. The responsible officer is the Director of Public Prosecution. The Director of Public Prosecution, under the Constitution of Zambia, has the authority to enter a nolle prosequi without giving reasons to anybody. He or she is not bound to inform us as government as to why she decided to enter a nolle. Even ourselves, we don't know. And we cannot ask her or question her as to the reasons why she entered the nolle. That is according to the Constitution of Zambia, which was passed in this House.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Ron.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, and thank you very much, Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security. You have partially answered one of my concerns concerning the now prosecute. Honorable Minister, if I heard you correctly in your statement, you said that in June the suspect appeared in court and the now prosecute was entered, but you went further to say he was transferred to Chinsari Correctional Facility pending appearance in court. Could you elaborate further or amplify? I'm lost with that statement. Is he still in custody or is he's been discharged completely? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security.
Madam Speaker, thank you very much. I also want to thank the Honorable Member for Ron for that question. Madam Speaker, the officer was transferred to Chinsali, taking into account that he was supposed to be appearing before the High Court. We considered the difficulties that he was going to encounter moving from the station where he was stationed to Chinsali. But immediately the nolle prosequi was entered, he was released from prison. He's back and he's working.
Okay. Thank you. Before we proceed, just to make another announcement. Honorable members, I wish to acquaint the House with the presence in the Speaker's Gallery of Honorable Neema Longagira, Member of Parliament from the Parliament of Tanzania and Chairperson of the African Parliamentary Network on Internet Governance. I wish on behalf of the National Assembly of Zambia to receive our distinguished guest and warmly welcome her in our midst. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Let's make progress. The next question, supplementary question from the honorable member for Nyimba.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, it has been, it's becoming now a tendency when our residents are killed by either those who manages the lodges along Rwangwa River, especially from Chama up to the end of Rwangwa River. Madam Speaker, you may wish to know that there has never been a person prosecuted and jailed after. In fact, now it has just become, it's an assassination by either the owners of the lodges or Zawa themselves. Madam Speaker, my question is concerning what happened in Chama. Are we going to see the change? Because it can't be all day that it's a decision of DPP. When families are mourning, these are the people maybe who are breadwinners in their families, and people are killed, and this is not the first killing along those areas. A lot of people have been killed. Even if we talk about Nyimba, so far this year we've lost 2 people killed, and nothing is happening. Literally nothing is happening. How are we going to see the change of this decision? Do you have any plans to bring the law to Parliament so that we change that the DPP can't just make a wake up from his own thinking and thinking I'll discharge this without getting into consideration of the families and the kids who are suffering? Thank you.
It's more opening now the question, but the Honorable Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I would not want to make a categorical statement on the issue pertaining to the powers of the DPP vis-à-vis the issue of the NOLE. However, I want to state that the Honorable Minister of Justice is on record that in due course, the Constitution of the Republic of Zambia will be reviewed. And if members are not happy with the processes pertaining to the entering of knowledge, members of the public will make recommendations to the Minister of Justice or whichever process that will be established pertaining to the review of the Constitution for consideration.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Chama South.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Honorable Minister, the fact that the accused started work not in June, but 2 years ago. He was released when he was taken to Chinsali 2 years ago. He started work. He went to Chinsali in June from his workstation, and the family members were not aware. Are you, as a government, going to take interest to ensure that you recheck if this NORE was appropriate or not? Because we can't just say the DPP has powers, then there's nothing we can do. What if there's injustice going on in our country? Are you going to take interest to review this case and advise the DPP accordingly as government? I submit, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security.
Madam Speaker, the new Dawn administration does not interfere in the operations of the Director of Public Prosecution. We cannot give directions on what she should do. If members of the public, especially those who are grieved by the decision, they are at liberty to approach the DPP over the same. And if the reasons are convincing, she may reopen the matter. A NOLE per se is not an acquittal.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Chilubi.
Hello, Madam Speaker.
Proceed, Honorable Member. Good afternoon.
Where I am, there is a problem with network. I think I may not execute myself properly. So I may pass in the interest of time.
Okay, thank you. Oh, sorry. The clerk will now read the order of the day.
Thanks. His Excellency the President's address, motion of 13th September 2022, resumption of debate.
Order. When the House adjourned on Friday, 23rd September 2022, the House was considering the motion moved by the Honorable Member for Kabwe Central that the thanks of this Assembly be recorded for the exposition of public police contained in the President's address. Any further debate? The Honorable Minister for Central Province.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for allowing the people of Central Province to make a contribution to the speech which was delivered by His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Zambia, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, during the second session of the 13th National Assembly. Madam Speaker, I wish to state from the onset that the people of Central Province are highly pleased and excited with the socio-economic achievements made by the New Dawn government in the first 1 year of being in office. Madam Speaker, we are also delighted that the President's speech speaks to the strategic plan, the 8th National Development Plan, and also it responds well to the Vision 2030. Madam Speaker, allow me to speak into the pillars as espoused in the 8th National Development Plan, in line with the speech of His Excellency. Madam Speaker, I want to highlight Central Province, what is in Central Province. Central Province, Madam Speaker, has an abundant natural resources which we are able to exploit in the last 1 year, and a lot of efforts have been made to attract both local and foreign investment in increasing production, value addition, and trade. I am glad to indicate that we have been able to address most of the bottlenecks that has been affecting the province. Madam Speaker, when we took up office in Central Province, there were so much illegalities in the mining sector which we had to handle and bring to an end, at least 80% of that. Madam Speaker, we had challenges in most of the districts, such as Mumbwa gold mines, Chibombo, Chisamba districts, and manganese in Serenje, Mukushi, and Kapirimposh. Madam Speaker, however, this has been brought under control in the past 12 months, and the provincial administration is currently strengthening participation of locally driven mining entrepreneurs and cooperatives to enhance economic transformation in line with the 8th National Development Plan. Madam Speaker, the restored order in the mining sector has not only instigated increased investment in the actual mining, but also in the processing of minerals, which has seen many processing plants coming into the province, where we're expecting around 8 to 10 more processing plants, manganese processing plants, in Serenge district. Therefore, Madam Speaker, we want to make mention that Central Province will be another number 3 mining province in the country. Out of this, Madam Speaker, we are seeing more jobs created in Serenge district. At least 1,000 jobs will be created by the end of this year. Madam Speaker, Central Province is another province that has continued to be the torchbearer in the agricultural sector. You agree with me, Madam Speaker, that over time, Central Province has always been competitive in the production of maize, wheat, and many others. Our focus is to attract more private investment in agro-processing as espoused in the strategic focus of the 8th National Development Plan. We have also attracted huge investments in the marigold production and processing in the province. We are estimating, Madam Speaker, that this investment, when it is fully implemented, with currently having 2,000 jobs or employees, we are going to register another 8,000 jobs in Chiwambo district. Madam Speaker, the provincial administration will also help in linking about 8,000 small-scale farmers to market for various crops produced under the irrigation scheme at Mombosh Dam in Chisamba district. Apart from small-scale farmers, you may wish to know, Madam Speaker, that Mombosh Dam has also benefited 11 commercial farmers who have managed to increase the crop production hectareage from 1,000 to 3,600 hectares within 24 months. Under human and social development, Madam Speaker, Central Province is so excited with the new Dawn government and the head of state, His Excellency President Hakainde Hichilema, in the recruitment of teachers. Central Province, Madam Speaker, was able to recruit about 4,207 teachers who have been recruited in the province. The number of school attendants have increased, Madam Speaker, in the province. But we are not worried with the increase, Madam Speaker, because of the methodical approach of the new Dawn government that has also increased the CDF from 1.6 million to 25.7 million. This, Madam Speaker, has affected positively in the province in all the districts where all constituencies, as we are speaking, Madam Speaker, are able to increase the school infrastructure to accommodate the increase in the number of learners. We are grateful, Madam Speaker, that under the health sector, the province received about 1,206 health staff that have been posted to facilities under the just ended health worker recruitment exercise. Madam Speaker, Central Province is really excited and appreciative, and we are working hard to make sure that the administration meets to the desires of our people in the province. With the signing of the Memorandum of Understanding, Madam Speaker, between the Zambian government and African parks of the joint management of the Kafue National Park, this has also given hope to the people of Central Province and Mumbwa district, that the Kafue National Park, very soon we are going to have many jobs and business opportunities, making Mumbwa district as another tourist district in the province. Madam Speaker, we agree with the President on his stance that good governance environment is a prerequisite for the attainment of socio-economic transformation. In this regard, Madam Speaker, I wish to report that we have continued to provide a conducive governance environment where our people are free to express themselves and enjoy their rights without the fear of being arrested or harassed by political cadres. Madam Speaker, Central Province was another Baghdad during the previous regime. It is where, Madam Speaker, where His Excellency was attacked by PF cadres in Serenge in the just ended 2021 general elections. But we want to report that, Madam Speaker, this is a thing of the past because of the new Dawn government. Madam Speaker, allow me to conclude by stating that the improved rural connectivity project, which has been the rehabilitation of the 254 kilometers on our rural roads in Mukushi, Mumbwa, and Chibombo, is improving the economies of these areas and ultimately contribute to the government's economic transformation agenda. Madam Speaker, I wish also to make mention that we are making progress to have the road from Landres Corner Road in Chibombo district through Mumbwa to Kasempa district in northwestern province. These are some of the indicators of growth of the province, Madam Speaker, and we are very optimistic that once this project is done, Central Province will open to Northwestern Province. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister of Agriculture.
Madam, I wish to thank you for granting me the opportunity to join the many other members who have contributed to the speech as delivered by His Excellency the President of the Republic of Zambia, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, during the official opening of the second session of the 13th National Assembly. Madam Speaker, the speech by the President was special as it coincided with the first anniversary of the new Dawn administration's stay in office. The address was special because it highlighted a number of concrete actions that the government has taken to address the challenges of, one, Madam Speaker, the terrible negative growth that we witnessed. Madam Speaker, that moved from 6% down to minus 2.8%. We are happy that now, Madam Speaker, after 1 year, it is rising and it is at about 3% growth. Madam Speaker, as if not enough, we had an alarming level of inflation. Madam Speaker, 25.6% inflation in a country, almost rendering our currency to garbage. But fortunately, Madam Speaker, we are now at about 9%. There was also, Madam Speaker, very, very unfavorable exchange rates. Very, very unfavorable exchange rates. We all recall the kwacha, Madam Speaker, going down to about 22 kwacha for a dollar. We are happy now that it is at 15 kwacha per dollar. Wouldn't we talk of the poor fiscal position, Madam Speaker? A country, just like a home, needs to have a reserve, and the reserve is kept by the Bank of Zambia. The standard in the world, Madam Speaker, is that you should have at least 3 months' reserves in cash. But we had depleted our reserves to 1.9, for 1.9 months. We are happy, Madam Speaker, that now it has risen to about 3.7, for about 3.7 months. Madam Speaker, the UPND government is grateful to the people of Zambia from all corners of the country for the unwavering support they have rendered to the government through, being patient and also having hope. Madam Speaker, let me specifically give some guidance on what has made people very happy in the agriculture sector. Number one, Madam Speaker, even Honorable Nkandu here is aware that for the past 1 year, we had absolutely stable prices in meal meal. There was no movement upwards in the prices of meal meal, but maintained stable and now going down. Those are the things that people want. Madam Speaker, we ensured that countrywide food was available. There used to be fear that we could have hunger. But, Madam Speaker, I would challenge all my colleagues in here. Which part of the country has had food shortages? None, Madam Speaker, because of the availability of prudent leadership. Madam Speaker, as if not enough, the Food Reserve Agency has paid all the farmers that it got maize from, including the huge stock that we actually inherited from our colleagues that were in government then. I'm very happy that we paid all the farmers. If there's any farmer out there who hasn't been paid, Madam Speaker, we are happy to pay that farmer and know who it is. There has also been, Madam Speaker, a very fair distribution of the FISIP program. All corners of the country were given FISIP as the other corner. That is what people want from a caring government. And here it is, Madam Speaker. You recall when I used to stand up here and talk, there was a lot of fear that when I said the trucks are rolling and taking fertilizer to this part and that part, people were afraid and thought it was a joke. But here we are, Madam Speaker. There was peace and everything is okay. We also, Madam Speaker, allowed within the first month of being sworn into office, we opened up and allowed exports. There was fear. If you allow exports, we are going to have all the maize going out. We said, no, no, no. Market forces do not operate like that. They are like tappets in a car. They synchronize themselves. And here we are, Madam Speaker. We are allowing exports, and there is no fear whatsoever. Farmers are happy. Madam Speaker, no misfiring whatsoever. Look at the clarity of the agriculture policy for the new Dawn government. Who doesn't know what we're going to do? We are going forward with farm block development. Those farms are there for all the members here to apply for land. Free land going forward. And Madam Speaker, when we give that land, we are going into those farm blocks to provide roads, to provide electricity, to provide dams, to provide mechanization, and, Madam Speaker, to have in those areas processing plants so that now we can churn our pineapples into tinned product, into juice, into jam, into what the Zambia needs. That's the policy direction which your government, Madam Speaker, has. I can go on and on. What about the diversification, Madam Speaker? Look at what has happened. Where a country needs to follow up what UNIP did, then MMD did, then the PF did, and now the new Dawn is doing and improving on those. Continuity. Avocado trees that were planted long time ago, we are now exporting. That is the way a country should run. Don't cut the trees because they were planted by the PF. Why? You continue with what they did. And that, Madam Speaker, is what the country offers now, this new Dawn government. Look also, Madam Speaker, at the production in the country. People are producing freely and happily. Look at the peace in the country, Madam Speaker. There has been, when the president was campaigning, he talked about two things. I want to bring unity in the country, and I want to bring development in the country. Madam Speaker, you will never see a UPND vehicle colored in red moving all over and blaring and making noise. People are allowed to heal. Even those who had the pain of losing are now coming down. That is what this country does. Madam Speaker, as a consequence of this, you find that the World Bank has given us to support FISIP, to support growth in agriculture, 300 million, Madam Speaker, US dollars directly to the Minister of Agriculture, and the President goes to get 1.4 million. Madam Speaker, I see that you are warning me that it's now turning yellow. I had a lot to discuss, how I wish time was given to me. Madam Speaker, thank you, Honorable. Madam Speaker, I want to mention this. Zambia, Madam Speaker, is one of the poorest countries in the world, not in Africa. As at now, 6 out of 10 people are living in poverty, and 4 out of 10 people are living in extreme poverty. And we know, all of us in this house, what we're talking about. Now, what is the country going to do to solve this problem? Madam Speaker, having identified that we have got a problem on low diversification, youth unemployment, poverty, slow devolution, poor education, and poor services, the country has come up with very clear policies on how these will be solved. And that has been, Madam, put in what is called the 8th Development Plan. And this development plan has identified agriculture, tourism, mining, and manufacturing as the main pillars to move. These can't move if energy is not giving the support, if a small scale is not giving the support, if infrastructure is not giving the support, if local government is not giving the support. So, Madam, what we are looking at now is that agriculture is going to take the center stage, is going to move, and we are so resolved to move forward. Madam Speaker, I will attempt now to answer a few questions that were raised by, yes, that's the idea. A few questions that were raised by Member for Chasefu, Honorable Munduvile, Francis Kapianga, Honorable Kanchivia, Member of Parliament for Kanchivia, and Honorable Sampa. Madam Speaker, let me pick out one, for example, from Honorable Kampianga, who said FRA is a mere waste of resource. How can a honorable member of parliament think like that? We have bought all the yes, I'm quoting you, honorable. We have bought through FRA all the maize that our small-scale farmers are producing. Through FRA, soybeans, 90,000 tons of soybeans. Madam Speaker, extend the time I explained to my friend Kampiang. I thank you.
Order. You can continue the discussion outside as we adjourn. Honorable Member for Kachivia has a point of order. What's the point of order?
Madam Speaker, is the Honorable Minister of Agriculture in order to quote me when I did not debate the motion of thanks? I submit.
To my recollection, the Honorable Member for Kanchivia did debate. He didn't debate, sorry. At the time that I called him, he was not in the chamber, so he did not debate. So the Honorable Minister was out of order to say that the Honorable Member for Kanchivia had debated. The Honorable Minister of Sports.
Madam Speaker, before I proceed with my contribution, allow me to thank you for according me this opportunity to contribute to the debate on the speech presented by His Excellency the President of the Republic of Zambia, Commander-in-Chief of the Defense Forces, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, to this August House on the 9th September 2022 during the opening of the second session of the 13th National Assembly under the theme, Working Together Towards Socio-Economic Transformation, Stimulating Economic Growth for Improved Livelihoods. Madam Speaker, allow me to inform the August House that Zambia's population is predominantly youthful, and according to the Zambia Statistical Agency, Zambia's population in 2018 stood at over 17 million, and that the youth population accounted for 6 million, of the total population representing 35% for the country. For the country to achieve meaningful development, Madam Speaker, there is need to provide interventions that will enable this population to participate in the socio-economic development of the country and contribute to the attainment of the Vision 2030 aspirations of making Zambia a prosperous middle-income country and the 8th National Development Plan. According to the 2020 Labor Force Survey, youth employment rate stood at 18.2%, which translates to 18% male and 18.7% female, respectively. In rural areas, youth unemployment rate was at 18.4% compared to 18.1% in urban areas. In this regard, my ministry will continue to implement programs aimed at creating employment and empowerment opportunities for the youth by investing in job-rich sectors such as construction, mining, agriculture, and energy. Madam Speaker, I would like to commend the President, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, for showing commitment on the desire to reverse the current economic downturn through accelerating economic growth and creating opportunities for all, especially the youth. This is indeed a commendable policy direction aimed at addressing the so many challenges faced by the youth in the country, which includes youth unemployment, among others. All this will be achieved through the focusing on the following thematic areas. Madam Speaker, I do understand that in our Bemba saying, we say uwa kupata, takakuepo ati busuma bowe. Meaning, those that despises you will never see anything good out of you. So, as you PND, Madam Speaker, we don't expect praises from the people that failed, that used to beat the Zambian people. So obviously we are comforted by that saying. We are comforted by that saying that they will never praise us. But I think it is important for members of parliament to praise people where it is due, so that we are also motivated to do even more. And I believe that we are doing a commendable job. Inside there, as they know, they just don't want to say it. Madam Speaker, the three thematic areas I talked about is 1, economic transformation and job creation. 2, human and social development. C, environment sustainability, and D, good governance environment. Madam Speaker, I believe that some people are just allergic to the truth. If there is a sector which has seen a lot of improvement, is the sector where youths are being employed. When we are talking about empowering Zambians, we're not only talking about job opportunities. There are a lot of empowerments that we talk about. First, let us see, 95% of the people that were recruited in education, 95% are the young people. Yeah. Let's also talk about the youth recruitment in health. 95-96% is the youth. Very soon we will be also employing army officers, let me just say, in defense and also in home affairs will also be employing. And I believe that 95% of the people that will be employed are the young people. So if people are saying that youths are not being empowered, what are you talking about? Madam Speaker, the President of the Republic of Zambia, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, highlighted economic transformation that will bring together various interventions from various sectors of the economy in order to create jobs and reduce poverty among its citizens. In view of the above, my ministry will continue to implement youth, sport, and art empowerment programs that will spur job creation among the youth, sportsmen and women in the country. These interventions will include youth empowerment, grants to the vulnerable people in society, artists and sports persons, provision of community scholarships under the International Coalition of Fellowships. Madam Speaker, we have also empowered a lot of young people through education and free education under what we are calling community scholarship program. 5,000 have been enrolled this year. Next year, another 5,000 will be enrolled at tertiary level. So we are not even saying that we are only providing free education between or from grade 1 up to grade 12. No, we have even gone further by enrolling 5,000 this year, and a lot of members of parliament are beneficiaries from this program, though they cannot say it because they are very allergic to the truth. Madam Speaker, I said through memorandum of understanding, resettlement of youth, resettlement schemes, provision of startup kits, and increased youth access to finance, general entrepreneurship development. This is an effort to create employment and empowerment opportunities by stimulating business opportunities that will result into creating a resilient, innovative, and productive youth population. Madam Speaker, in order to attain economic sustainability and diversification, in the President's speech, he highlighted agriculture, mining, and tourism as key drivers of the economy, while considering energy, transport, ICT, and research and development as enablers of the transformation agenda. These are the key sectors which our new Dawn government has prioritized to have great potential to provide employment opportunities for the youth and improve their livelihood. In this regard, members of the August House, you may wish to note that my ministry has continued empowering the youth, artists, and sport persons in various job-rich sectors by providing revolving fund for artists and the youth that want to venture into income-generating activities in agriculture, tourism, mining, and any other sector of their choice. Madam Speaker, in the address of the August House, the President outlined the importance of human and social development as an essential tool in maintaining a healthy and skilled population. To realize this aspiration, government will foster accelerated social transformation through the empowerment of our citizens. In this vein, my ministry will continue to provide skills training through the youth skills training centers in the country. Further, allow me to inform the August House that my ministry has 23 operational youth resource centers where we are providing these skills training. That provides skills training to the never been and out of school youth. It is the desire of my ministry to construct another 93 resource centers in all the 93 districts in the country as outlined in 8 National Development Plan. This is an effort to contribute to a skilled youthful population. Further, allow me to inform and congratulate members of parliament for supporting skills development in their respective areas. Madam Speaker, the President also emphasized on the role of good governance in creating a conducive environment for socio-economic transformation. The restoration of rule of law has been the key achievement of the new Dawn government. This can be evidenced having local authorities take charge of their mandate in bus stations and the markets and trading places, as well as putting an end to the use of youths as agents of tools of violence. Furthermore, another major achievement of the new Dawn administration is the restoration of the rule of law. The democracy has also been restored. As I stand here today, we can all agree that people are free to express themselves and are free to belong to any political of their own choice. Madam Speaker, this couldn't happen with our colleagues.
Thank
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister of Local Government and Rural Development.
Madam, let me thank you for the opportunity. And in debating the President's speech, I would like to begin by thanking His Excellency the President for a well-articulated speech, inspiring address to the nation at the official opening of the National Assembly on the 9th of September 2022. I would also like to thank Her Honor, the Vice President, for managing this House in the manner that she did and keeping all her members diligently representing their constituencies in the manner that they did. I'd like to thank you too, Madam, for an exemplary leadership of the House that you've demonstrated. Madam, we are extremely grateful that His Excellency the President, under the New Dawn government, has demonstrated exemplary leadership that has steered this country to attaining many milestones, including stabilization of the economy within a period of 1 year only. Madam Speaker, these transformative policy agendas that the President has led this country has been extremely participatory by every citizen who's well-meaning in the country, and this is demonstrated by the involvement of citizens in another key milestone, that being the pronouncement and the launch of the 8th National Development Plan. Madam Speaker, there is so much that can be said under my ministry that gives evidence of our vision's actualization of the plan to facilitate the social and economic transformation for the livelihood of our people. Madam, this afternoon my speech or discourse will speak to the address of His Excellency, the President of the Republic, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, whose theme was working together, and the key word here is working together towards socio-economic transformation, stimulating economic growth for improved livelihood. The President intermittently, throughout his speech, emphasized the idea of closing in the gap to work together, regardless of our diversity in thinking, our diversity in the way we want to see things, and acceptance that the country requires to move forward, and invited everyone, to the exclusion of none, including members of the opposition, to join hands with him to assist develop this country. My ministry is a ministry that houses rural development and is charged with the responsibility of promoting decentralization, local governance system, promoting rural development, and facilitating for quality municipal services. My ministry, Madam Speaker, has continued to implement programs to transform socio-economic status of our people and enhance their livelihoods through rural development functions. We have undertaken to implement infrastructural development programs that enhance mobility as well as access to water and sanitation for our people. The ministry is facilitating the construction of and reconstruction of crossing points, of dams, of weirs, of construction of boreholes, and provision of sanitary facilities, as well as improvement in the roads in the rural areas. This is our commitment in the ministry. The ministry is also providing support for solid waste management in rural localities as well as urban ones. Madam Speaker, the rehabilitation and maintenance of township and feeder roads is one of the key strategies that the government leverages on to facilitate socio-economic development and improve the standard of living of our people. This is in line with government's commitment to ensuring that all services are made available to all the people without leaving anyone on the wayside. Madam Speaker, to enhance service delivery at local level and in the spirit of decentralization, this ministry that I'm working for is working to improve the capacity of all local authorities to effectively supervise and manage the road projects under the Improved Rural Connectivity Program. Capacity building of the local authorities is underway at a total cost of 200 million United States dollars that is being facilitated by the World Bank. Madam Speaker, markets and bus stations are very important facilities that provide services and conducive platform for trading as well as transportation. Our focus is to restore these facilities and ensure that they provide adequate access to trade and mobility services for our people. Further, it is our aim to ensure that the citizens are free to use these public facilities as against the way it was not so long ago, not so distant a past, where citizens were feeling unsafe to go into these facilities on account of exclusion by those that are the instruments of power and cowing everybody down to submission, that if you were not a member of the party that was in government, it was taboo. It was also dangerous to walk into those facilities, even if you wanted to move from one district to another. There were special citizens who were assigned by the state, and if they were not assigned by the state, it therefore means that the state failed to control its operatives, who used to beat people up wantonly. Even if you are wearing a Manchester United t-shirt, you risked to be lynched, and let alone to even be killed. That was the order of the day. I'm glad, Madam Speaker, that this is now talk of the past. And I can tell you now, through you, Madam Speaker, yesterday I attended a very, very sad event, the funeral for my younger brother and friend, the former council chairperson from Mwense District, Honorable Humphrey Kapapula. May his soul rest in peace. I had a moment to interact with the sixth president of the Republic. And while we were waiting to pay our last respect, President Edgar Lungu said to me, Waona Gari, there's so much peace. You can ask him. No doubt about it. There's so much peace. Everyone is living in harmony. This was in recognition of what was prevailing there. A typical PF funeral where in the past, people like me would have not walked out of that Cathedral of the Holy Cross free. I mingled with them. They showed their symbols at the funeral. They kept saying, Alewera Pampando, which Pampando, I don't know what it is. But it meant that he's coming back on the seat. But the fundamental point, Madam Speaker, is that even the former head of state did make the acknowledgement that there was so much harmony at that funeral. These are the things that we were fighting for. And time to bury our heads in the sand must be a thing of the past, because we have a long life ahead of us. As we leave this country, we must leave it in safe hands with safe people. And Mr. Hichilema provides that kind of safety. Madam Speaker, in line with the President's speech and the government's commitment to leverage on the use of ICT for service provision, works are on course to upscale cashless revenue transactions and collections system. With this initiative in place, Madam Speaker, government expects that the revenue collection will stop leaking and will improve tremendously. Madam Speaker, my ministry is working to strengthen policy and legislative framework to create enabling environment for solid waste management services. To further this enhancement of service delivery, Madam Speaker, solid waste management, the government has instituted solid waste management utility companies within the local authorities, and it has the shareholders who are going to be in charge of these facilities. In this regard, Lusaka Integrated Solid Waste Management Company has been created as a pilot project for the Lusaka City Council and the Ministry of Finance as the shareholders, and the processes of operationalizing it is on course. Madam Speaker, the government is committed to fostering sustainable human settlements as a way of improving standards of living for our people. In this regard, my ministry is providing policy and legislative guidance that promotes spatial planning and squatter upgrading as a basis for improved access to socio-economic services and livelihood activities. My ministry is supporting local authorities to develop integrated development plans for the coordinated development of all districts. Further, my ministry will ensure that all local authorities adhere to the provisions of the Urban and Regional Planning Act number 3 of 2015 in guiding the special, my time is up. Madam Speaker, I was almost concluding. With these few words, I beg to move and support the President's speech.
Thank you. Sorry, this note also can distract. The Honorable Minister of Small and Medium Scale Enterprises.
Madam Speaker, I am grateful to you for giving me this time to add a voice to the motion on the speech by the President of the Republic of Zambia, His Excellency Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, for the official opening of the second session of the 13th National Assembly delivered to this August House on the 9th of September 2022. Madam Speaker, as the President stated, cooperatives, small and medium enterprises are key contributors to economic growth, job and wealth creation in any country. The majority of businesses in this country are in the SME sector or category. This should give us hope that if well supported by every one of us in the country and ably managed, SME can significantly change the economic face of our country. The President was there and therefore spot on when he created the Ministry of Small and Medium Enterprise Development so that government can effectively foster the growth and development of cooperatives and SMEs. Madam Speaker, shortly after the creation of my ministry, we embarked on online registration of cooperatives in order to transform the manner in which cooperatives were registered. The manual registration process took long to register cooperatives. The process was also highly centralized, thus compelling people to travel long distances for registration. This was cumbersome and costly to the general public. In May 2022, the ministry migrated to the online platform for registration of cooperatives. From the time the online system was introduced, a total of 1,777 cooperatives certificates have been issued countrywide in addition to the already existing 24,772 cooperatives that had been issued with certificates before the new system was introduced. This brought the total number of cooperatives registered to 26,549 for the period September 2021 to the end of August 2022. Considering that each cooperative, this is just to illustrate, has a minimum membership of 10 people, this means that 265,490 more people have been come on board of cooperative movement. Further, if each of the 26,549 cooperatives can run viable businesses or enterprises and employ at least 5 persons, the cooperative movement alone would create about 132,745 new jobs for our youth. This illustration shows how promising the cooperative movement is in reducing unemployment. Madam Speaker, to promote the growth of small and medium enterprises, my ministry is re-engineering the provision of empowerment funds and grants. This is being done to ensure that empowerment funds and grants are provided to support the growth of small and medium in all sectors. Right now, the window is open, and most of the members of parliament have been reached to. I've contacted them. Applications for these funds through the CEC must be done now. The public is encouraged to apply before the window closes this Friday, 30th of September 2022. These resources, or the resources allocated to the Citizen Economic Empowerment Commission, is amounting to 365 million, coupled with the allocation of the sum of 83.8 million to make the industrial yard operational across the country, is testament of government's resolve to foster the growth and development of cooperatives and SMEs. In addition, collaborating measures with cooperating partners are underway to help implement programs which will see the development of SMEs and cooperatives in the country. Madam Speaker, as I conclude, I wish to assure our people and you, Madam Speaker, that the new Dawn government is on course with its transformation agenda from all socio-economic fronts. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister of Health.
Madam Speaker, let me first of all thank you for giving me this opportunity to contribute to the debate of the speech for the official opening of the second session of the 13th National Assembly to this August House. Before I proceed, allow me to commend the President for delivering a speech that is apolitical and focuses on highlighting policy measures to be implemented in the coming year under the 4 strategic development areas of the 8th National Development Plan. We are all aware that this administration inherited a broken economy, and within a year of being in power, the new Dawn government managed to prioritize the implementation of the socio-economic interventions aimed at stabilizing, repairing, and reviving our economy. The list of achievements are as stated in the conclusion of the presidential speech, and it is public knowledge. Everybody knows what has happened to this country only in 10 months, and the fresh air which is being enjoyed by everybody, including PF, has been alluded to by the Minister of Local Government, coming from the former president himself. Madam Speaker, the policy measures contained in the presidential speech are aimed at improving the welfare and well-being of the Zambian people. We are aware that the health of individuals and communities is to a large extent determined by the environment and circumstances in which they live and operate. These include the socio-economic and environmental conditions. Madam Speaker, allow me to make comments on some individual policy areas which were touched by His Excellency as follows. 1, on clean and safe water and adequate sanitation. Madam Speaker, some parts of Zambia are without access to clean and safe water. Oh God. Some parts of Zambia are without access to clean and safe water and safe sanitation. In addition, some households dispose of the garbage by dumping. Poor environmental sanitation is a major source of public health problems and epidemics in Zambia. Some of the health conditions presented at health facilities in Zambia are communicable diseases which are related to poor environmental sanitation, with significant adverse impact on the poor, especially the children. The President, Madam Speaker, has to be commended for providing policy measures to address this challenge. The other important issue, Madam Speaker, is food and nutrition security. Malnutrition is a major public health problem in Zambia and contributes more under 5 deaths. Latest figure on protein energy malnutrition indicates that 45% of our Zambian children are stunted, 15% are underweight, while 5% are wasted. These rates are among the highest, Madam Speaker, in the sub-region. Again, the President has to be commended for providing policy interventions to address this challenge. Education, Madam Speaker. Education and literacy are among the major determinants of health and development. A positive association between education and health has been established. People who are well educated experience better health, as reflected in the high levels of self-reported health and low levels of morbidity, mortality, and disability. By extension, Madam Speaker, low educational attainment is associated with self-reported poor health, shorter life expectancy, and shorter survival when sick. Education, Madam Speaker, helps promote and sustain health lifestyles and positive choices and enhance personal, family, and community well-being. Introduction of free education helps reduce illiteracy levels. Improved literacy in the population helps improve health care, seeking, and general hygiene. Madam Speaker, illiteracy directly affects an individual's health and well-being. So the importance of education on physical health is vital. Those without education are more likely to be vulnerable to health problems. For example, increased schooling reduces the risk of HIV infection. And according to one study of women in 32 countries, literate women are 3 times more likely than illiterate ones to know that a person seemingly in good health can be infected with HIV. A literate woman is also 4 times as likely to know how to protect herself from HIV. The President, Madam Speaker, again must be commended for providing policy direction which is consistent with the promises made when assuming power. Investment, Madam Speaker, in the digitalization of our economy by investing in internet connectivity, in line with the presidential speech, the Ministry of Health is exploring ways and innovations to digitalize paper-based record forms and registers into digital systems such as smart paper technology, so as to improve data collection, reporting, analysis, and use at different levels of health care. Additionally, the government, through the Ministry of Health, has made significant progress in the implementation of health information systems relating to patient-client data and logistics management, among them included. These are electronic health record system called Smart Care, which captures patient-client level health information. This is being implemented in over 1,500 health facilities across the country. We also have electronic logistic information systems, which we are referring to as ELMIS, which collects information on medical supplies and essential medicines. Lastly, laboratory management information system referred to as LIMIS, which mainly manages information on lab commodities and logistics. Improve access to rural communities and construction of health facilities, including construction of maternity wings at all health facilities. Madam Speaker, availability of roads and health infrastructure are key in the delivery of health services for effective and efficient delivery of life-saving health interventions. It is imperative that infrastructure is available in which these much-needed services are delivered from. In addition to the physical infrastructure, delivery of health services such as timely distribution of drugs and medical supplies is dependent on a strong road network. Access by the population also depends on the availability of road networks. The delivery of emergency cases through referral cases would depend on proper road networks to allow the use of the most available ambulatory transport in the country. It can therefore be said that the availability of both road infrastructure as well as health infrastructure has been benefited the sector in ensuring increased access to life-saving interventions at all levels of the healthcare delivery system. This includes access to basic and complicated medical care, delivery of medicines and medical supplies, as well as distribution of medical personnel to be able to serve in the most remote parts of the country. It is evident that an improved road network and increased health infrastructure has increased access to health services, and this has resulted in improved health outcomes. On availability of medicines and medical supply, Madam Speaker, as highlighted in the presidential speech, government is committed to the provision of equity of access for all Zambians to good quality, safe, and efficacious medicines which are affordable and rationally used as close to the family as possible. In line with the national drug policy, Madam Speaker, the provision of essential medicines and medical supplies countrywide is government's key priority area as it speaks to the provision of quality health care, which in turn is anchored on the attainment of the universal health coverage. Government is committed to making commodity security a priority, and the foundation laid at ZAMFA so far provides such a platform. Government, through the Ministry of Health and working with other key stakeholders, such as the European Union, has appointed the Zambia Pharmaceutical Manufacturing Steering Committee, whose objective, among others, is to revive the local pharmaceutical manufacturing in Zambia. This initiative is in response to His Excellency, the President of Zambia's call to redouble efforts on strengthening pharmaceutical manufacturing in order to contribute to a number of the country's economic, social, and environmental development priorities. Madam Speaker, as I conclude, allow me to commend the President for the comprehensive presidential speech and wish to remind the House that Zambia, like many developing countries, is faced with a high disease burden of both communicable and non-communicable diseases. The focus of government in 2022 and beyond is not only on treating diseases, but will be focusing on promoting wellness and preventing diseases at the same time. We'll also be implementing the decentralization policy in order to have universal health coverage. Madam Speaker, with these words, I thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister of Information and Media.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I rise to add my voice thanks to the speech by the President of the Republic of Zambia, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, when he opened the 22nd session of the National Assembly on Friday, 9 September 2022. Madam Speaker, I wish to congratulate the President on a clear and visionary speech he delivered to this August House. Madam Speaker, in the speech, President Hichilema outlined major policy pronouncements aimed at transforming Zambia into a better and prosperous country. A Zambia that generates basic needs such as food, shelter, clothing for its people. A Zambia in which the fundamental rights of its citizens are respected, promoted, and protected. Madam Speaker, further, the President in his speech provided a clear direction and policy interventions that this government is taking to develop this country. Madam Speaker, of particular significance in his speech is the high priority that the President placed on education, health, economic empowerment of our people, including the decentralization of resources from the center to the people through the Constituency Development Fund, the 25.7 million per constituency, that is unprecedented, Madam Speaker, in the history of this country. In this regard, Madam Speaker, the Ministry of Information will disseminate information to all parts of Zambia so that we do not leave anyone behind and so that the people of Zambia can appreciate what this good government is doing for its people. Madam Speaker, the people of Chisamba constituency are proud beneficiaries of these and other massive development programs that this government continues to do. Government is rolling out countrywide since coming into office a year ago. Going forward, Madam Speaker, and in line with the President's vision that he articulated to this August House, I see more schools, Madam Speaker, for the people of Chisamba, for the people of Shiwangandu. I see more children in schools. Following the introduction of free education, I see more desks for our children. I see more teachers in our schools to teach our children. I see more and better health facilities for the people of Zambia. I see more jobs and economic empowerment and development for the people of Zambia. Madam Speaker, This is the change our people voted for on the 12th of August 2021. A better and prosperous Zambia. And this government is delivering just that. Madam Speaker, the people of Chisamba, the people of Chasefu, applaud President Hakainde Hichilema for the measures that government is implementing, as outlined in his speech, to repair the economy, which we found in intensive care units when we came into office a year ago. An economy that we found on its knees, an economy that we found bleeding. Madam Speaker, inflation is now a single digit. For the first time in 3 years, the kwacha is trending upward against major convertible currencies. Investor confidence has been restored with President Hichilema's foreign engagements. Maybe I should repeat that, Madam Speaker. Investor confidence has been restored with President Hichilema's foreign engagements, yielding immense and immeasurable benefits to the country. Madam Speaker, the people of Chisamba also commend President Hakainde Hichilema for placing high premium on peace and unity in his speech to this August House. Madam Speaker, under the previous regime, Zambia was fast degenerating into tribal and ethnic divisions and disunity. In more instances than one.
Honorable member for Kawambo, please take your seat. I'm not allowing any points of order. And please desist from making comments as you are seated there. May the Honorable Minister continue.
Appointments of people to various positions were based on tribal, regional, ethnic, and partisan considerations. Madam Speaker, the new Dawn government has reversed this sad state of affairs by ensuring that appointments and promotions are based on merit, regardless of one's tribe, ethnic or regional background. The area where one had to depend on someone they knew, such as a relative or tribe's mate, in order to appoint or promote to certain position is long gone, Honorable Kampiongo. The high level of transparency and professionalism with which the recent recruitment of teachers and health workers was conducted attests to this act. Madam Speaker, through this and other measures, the One Zambia, One Nation motto has bound us together since independence, once again becoming a reality where all Zambians have an equal say and stake in the affairs of this country. Madam Speaker, this government has also made tremendous strides in taking information closer to the people in this regard. And I am pleased to state that government recently released 7.2 million for the installation of radio transmitters in 15 districts across the country in the effort to create a well-informed populace. Madam Speaker, we have freed the media. In the past, the media houses were being closed down because they were perceived to have belonged to the opposition when we were in the opposition. We saw journalists being beaten. We saw journalists being tear gassed. But that is now something of the past. With the motto, One Zambia, One Nation. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister of Western Province.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for the opportunity to say a few words on the speech which was delivered in this House by the President on the 9th of September 2022. I would like to thank my President for delivering such a clear speech with verifiable facts which nobody can complain dispute unless they are being mischievous. When we were in opposition, we used to say there was a big difference between pontification and the capacity. And under this new Dawn government, we are seeing capacity. The president was very clear in the things he has achieved over the last 12 months. The difference with what he has achieved in 12 months and the failure of others in 10 years is simply capacity. That's all. What is tragic, however, Madam Speaker, is the fact that the people who have failed over the last 10 years are the ones in the forefront trying to make things appear as if nothing has been achieved. It's tragic, Madam Speaker. But of course, they would not manage because, unfortunately, they cannot recreate history. They had the opportunity to do good, but they failed on their own, and so they should just watch and applaud and just fall into line. Madam Speaker, when I first came to Parliament in 2016, the Minister of Finance then had indicated on the floor of this House that the colleagues in power at that time would clinch the IMF deal within 3 months. But they failed to do that over that period. But President Hakainde has done this within 1 year, yet the same people are still trying to discredit what one has done in 1 year and what they have failed in 5 years. And it boggles the mind to find out, or even to think, what is the criticism all about? The president also gave us verifiable facts and evidence. And he said, just for putting things in context, that our economy had contracted to minus 2.8% from the 6% which used to be in the past. Of course, this is Dunra Reverse, which is in tandem with their song. Madam Speaker, he also spoke about inflation, which was 22% in 2021, and the high exchange rate of the kwacha to the dollar, which was at 22, and all those other issues, including the reckless borrowing which took place under the foreign regime. And within 1 year, Madam Speaker, the inflation, which was at that higher level, has come to 9.8. The growth, which was at minus, has gone into the positive. And also, the import cover has recovered. And the prices, since independence, they have not gone down, of meal, of fish, of meat. But despite all this, we still have concerns from people who have failed to do good for the society, which, Madam Speaker, we think is unfortunate. It is on this basis, Madam Speaker, that we support very, very strongly the speech of the President, because it's practical and we can actually touch the good things that he has done. The New Dawn administration, Madam Speaker, promised to improve people's livelihoods and has done so already. Our government, Madam Speaker, is of the ardent belief that education is the best possible platform of socio-economic progress, And this is the reason why free education has been introduced. And our colleagues, I remember, used to say, where will the money come from? And again, our president, even in opposition, used to say, the difference always is a priority. Nothing had changed. While, Madam Speaker, the pessimists are complaining that free education has led to shortages of desks and classroom space. For us in Western Province, Madam Speaker, we see this as the opportunities for our local contractors and carpenters to construct the classroom blocks and to manufacture desks in the localities. There can never be any better opportunity than this. It is a solemn duty of the New Dawn administrating to work towards the lives of our people in Western Province. And I would like to say, the impunity which was there before, whereby Western Province had the least FISIP beneficiaries at 27,000 out of the whole 10 provinces. Honorable Mtoropili has increased that number by 10,000. They are now 37,000. That is what we call performance, because you cannot argue about that. You can see, you can touch. That's the difference. In the province, Madam Speaker, we are also working with our colleagues at the line ministries to improve the road infrastructure, which was totally neglected under the foreign regime. The bridge in the Kafue National Park was a disaster in waiting. It was going to kill people. But this New Dawn government has started fixing that bridge. And come December, the new bridge or the rehabilitated bridge will be in use. And after that, this New Dawn government will be in a position to look at the other roads in the province. This is the development we used to yearn for. Now, if you come from Western Province, you can say your taxes are working for us. And if there is any success of this government, Madam Speaker, it's the fact that they have removed the idea of impunity, the idea of entitlement, that other people were just passengers. Now we are equal, and we want to thank the President for his being so resilient. And we want to encourage our colleagues to encourage him and not to be vexatious in this House. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Honorable Member for Nakonde, you were indicating you wanted to raise a point of order. What was the point of order?
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I think I wanted to raise over the same minister because I know the ministers should give the policy statements. And what he was trying to give to this Honorable House, it was out of order. That's why I wanted to raise. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
Okay. We make progress. The Deputy Government Whip, the Deputy Chief Government Whip.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And indeed, it's a new dawn for the Zambian people. And the reason why it is a new dawn for the Zambian people, regardless of the political party they are affiliated to, is that for the first time, the inflation rate has dropped, Madam Speaker, as the President was able to tell us, from 25.6% to a single digit of 9.8%. Ladies and gentlemen, honorable members, but more importantly, those that are outside, this is how you govern a nation. This is how you move towards becoming a medium income country. Because we live in a global world with the inflation that we were seeing when our friends were actually in governance or they were governing, you could not go anywhere At the end of the day, the inflation levels were very high and you could not plan. This puts us actually in the intended goal of 6 to 8% inflation that is on course. And I think this has to be recommended to the President and indeed to the New Dawn government, Madam Speaker. Secondly, the issue of roads. I think the Minister of Central Province, okay, he's there. One of the things that I was excited about and that the people of Central Province are excited about is the vision of the New Dawn government through His Excellency Hakainde Hichilema and her honor, the Vice President, is to ensure that we bring the roads which were neglected for the longest time, including the Landres Mumbwa Road, to par where now the economy can be driven. It is no secret, ladies and gentlemen, Madam Speaker, that a country without good roads cannot develop. Roads or the road infrastructure, especially in rural areas, is such an interlinkage to what development will look like in that country. And I think through the New Dawn government and the hard work of really entire the cabinet and our own Minister of Central Province, the announcement of the land race to Kasempa Road is recommendable and it will bring a lot of changes. I will be remiss if I talked about the road network without talking about how serious this New Dawn government is to ensure that we avoid and reduce the fatal accidents that have been happening on the Ndola-Lusaka dual carriage road. Especially as someone who is the Member of Parliament for Kembe constituency. No month passes without hearing there is an accident at John Chinena area, which we all famous know. And yet, and this does not just affect the people of Kembe, it affects all Zambians. Madam Speaker, the deaths that we have seen, honorable members, let's not be focused on the name, but on what's happening. The deaths that we are seeing in this country are due to the poor roads, Madam Speaker, that were neglected for so many years. And it's taking the New Dawn government to fix what was a problem. And if we never really voted for the New Dawn government, I think I am excited to see what 2026 will bring, where a lot of Zambians will have to say, this is the government we have been waiting for. Already, Madam Speaker, the peace that took place here at Parliament when His Excellency, the President Hakainde Hichilema, was giving his address had never been seen in the PF government. We all used to be here. We used to see the way there was so much circus outside. The way there was party after party outside. But now, peace and good governance has come. Why? Because of the New Dawn government and His Excellency Hakainde Hichilema's leadership. And people are saying, what were we waiting for? Now it's time to work. If they want to drink, you drink at your own time, but not where Parliament was reduced to a playground, Madam Speaker, especially during the presidential address. I want to touch on the issue of agriculture. This is another key economic component in our country. We keep talking about agriculture. Some of us who are coming back for the second time, we debated about agriculture, but there was nothing to be seen. I think one of the hallmarks that you are going to see is in this New Dawn government is that there will be consistency of policy in the agricultural sector. And once there is consistency in the policy of governing, then you can plan. You can foresee some of the challenges, and that will enable our farmers, especially for my people, Benemukuni, abo balenje ku Chibombo, na Bikukembe constituency. Meaning, I am coming. It will help my people, the Lenje people, who are the owners of this country, Benechishi, to develop because they are in an agricultural area. Madam Speaker, one of the challenges we have had, even as I speak, it's sad to know that diseases have continued to creep our farmers, and the climate change, which we all heard about, that nothing was done, has continued to affect us. This has led to droughts as well as to floods, but this is where now real governance comes in. This is where you know who is in charge. Because of this, this new Dawn government is moving forward to bring back the farm blocks so that now the extension services can be there. So that the cry of the farmers not knowing what to do. Imagine, in Zambia, for example, in 1 hectare, we only get 20 bags of maize. That is less than 2 tons of maize. In actuality, if we improved our way of using irrigation, we could get about 200 bags of maize, and that equals to 10 tons of maize. You don't have to be UPND or PF to be excited about that. And that tells you that your government is working. And I am excited as a grandmother to be proud to be Zambian, to know that grandmother was there when the new government came into power and the agriculture sector became the center of our nation. The president has repeated many times that we are not landlocked. In any case, we are centrally located. And that is why I'm always proud to represent my province, Central Province, because it's also is centrally located. And land linked, yes, to be precise. Why have we not taken advantage of our advantageous position for so many years? Because of lack of good governance. My 4th point, Madam Speaker, it's good governance. Less violence, you see that people are free. It was in 2016 that some of us were hacked. You can see this, the Panga scar that I carry every day, which reminds me of the violence that we had allowed during the PF government. What was wrong for someone to wear their own T-shirt of the party they belong to? We are united in our divergence views. And this is the good governance and the peace that has been brought back. Madam Speaker, your parliament has dropped the participation of women up to 14% from 16.5 about, which was there. We hope that come 2026, especially for me as the chairperson for the Women Caucus, I want to see more women in parliament, regardless of political affiliation, because there is no more violence. Because women have been bad to come to the political arena because of political violence. And this is what the new government, new Dawn government has done. Sanity. If you remember nothing from my debate, just remember the word sanity. And when there is sanity, everything falls into play. Lastly but not the least, of course, you continue to hear the song, and the people out there that are still dancing and celebrating because of the free education. Free education in itself is not all of it. But this is why the new Dawn government is going to ensure that early child education, which sets the foundation for a child, is looked into. It is prenatal services. It is ensuring that there is preschools and other services that has to do with early education. Madam Speaker, I would have said more, Ingandamba Shinji. I rest my case on behalf of the Zambians and the Lenje people and the people of Kembe constituency. I thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Let's make progress. The Honorable Minister of Eastern Province.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, for allowing the good people and the wise people from the East to add the wise people of Eastern. One Michael Sata said the wise people left Eastern Province, they are back. We voted against the fallen PF 50% that we gave President Hakainde Hichilema. We are back. I'm so grateful to have this opportunity to react to the speech by His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Zambia, during
the official opening of the second session of the 13th National Assembly. As Eastern Province, we thank the Republican President, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, for providing good leadership and unwavering commitment to turning this country around, as witnessed by the changes that have occurred in the 1 year that the United Party for National Development, UPND, has been in office. Madam Speaker, there is no dispute that in the last 1 year, the economy has witnessed a serious economic turnaround with stability in the exchange rate as well as reducing inflation. It goes without saying that the New Dawn government is working for the people of Zambia. Madam Speaker, the launch of the 8th National Development Plan by His Excellency the President, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, cannot go without commendation. The plan provides the policy direction that will facilitate the achievement of the much needed socio-economic transformation and improvement of the livelihood of everyone. The identification of agriculture as one of the priority sectors in the 8th National Development Plan creates an opportunity for growth and diversification of the agriculture sector. This is because majority of our people in the province derive their livelihood from agriculture. As such, any investment in the sector will directly improve the livelihoods of many of our people. The New Dawn's resolve to enhance surveillance and provision of extension services while promoting agriculture, diversification, irrigation services, development, and the development of a comprehensive agriculture support program will significantly lead to the transformation of the sector through increased productivity and sustainability in the sector. It is for this reason that we believe this holistic approach to agriculture development will benefit the subsistence farmer regardless of political affiliation or ethnic inclination. Madam Speaker, as a province, we are also happy to note that in President Mr. Hakainde Hichilema's speech that the New Dawn government will reorganize artisanal and small-scale mining to increase the participation of citizens in the mining sector through formalization, capacity building, and provision of extension and technical services. In a province where the majority of those engaged in mining are engaged in informal and illegal mining of gold and other precious stones, such interventions will not only empower those engaged in mining, but it will also help government broaden the revenue generation. Apart from ensuring that those engaged in mining are empowered, the intervention will clamp down illegal engagements in these activities. Madam Speaker, the New Dawn government has really gone out of its way to promote and empower micro, small, and medium enterprises and cooperatives. The Constituency Development Fund CDF allocation is one among several ways the government has committed to empower business and other enterprises at the grassroots level. The presidential pronouncement of the allocation of the 365 million worth of empowerment products targeted at individual citizens and micro, small, and medium-scale enterprises and the cooperatives to the Citizen Economic Empowerment Commission, as well as the allocation of 83.9 million to operationalize industrial yards across the country cannot go without any accolades. Eastern Province, one of the provinces which benefit from the initiative of the industrial yards. However, the yard is not yet fully operational. So the added resources will go a long way in the revitalizing and promoting light manufacturing and creation of ready markets for the providers of the raw materials such as the farmers. This, without a doubt, will result in more jobs being created and subsequently improve livelihoods of our people. Madam Speaker, the President's fulfillment and commitment to the campaign promise of providing free education in public schools from early childhood to secondary school will enable more of our children to access education which they were unable to access in the previous government. This is very gratifying, and the people in the province believe that it will lead to meaningful development as education will no longer be for a selected few. Moreover, the recruitment of 30,000 plus teachers and 11,000 plus health workers, a pronouncement which had seemed far-fetched when it was made last year, is worth noting. Our children, brothers and sisters who had been in the communities with no hope of getting jobs are now employed, and we are all witnesses to this. In fact, it is important to point out that these newly employed members of staff did not have to wait for countless months before being put on the payroll. As we are speaking right now, Madam Speaker, they are receiving their second salaries barely a month after reporting. This indeed is a government with a heart for the people. Madam Speaker, I am aware that some people were peddling lies that the New Dawn government had scrapped off the Farmer Input Support Program, FISIP. What a shame. I would therefore like to thank the President for reassuring the people of Zambia that the government will continue implementing the Farmers Input Support Program. In addition, the New Dawn government will continue to implement the Food Security Pack program for the vulnerable but viable farmers to ensure food security at household level. The New Dawn government is clearly moving towards genuine poverty alleviation and ultimate elimination through various empowerment activities. Madam Speaker, we thank the President for increasing the number of the social cash transfer program beneficiary households across the country. We also thank to the President for increasing value to 400 from 300 every 2 months for all the beneficiaries, while increase the value to 800 from 600 every 2 months for persons with disabilities. This social safety net will reduce poverty and vulnerability of the very poor people in our country. Madam Speaker, government's commitment to environment sustainability remains as demonstrated in the President's speech, and as province, we carry the commitment forward through the implementation of critical programs aimed at supporting our environment. We acknowledge and as a province support the President's resolve to improve the governance environment through unprecedented enhanced implementation of the decentralization policy by taking public services closer to the people through the local authorities and empowering communities to make decisions and participate in local economic development. The review of the decentralization policy couldn't have come at a better time than now, when we have a government which is committed to taking power and resources back to the people, the true owners of the resources. Madam Speaker, as I conclude, I want to implore all well-meaning citizens, your members on the left, your members on the right, to support the New Dawn government, as the successes of the government in power is our collective success as the people of Zambia. We can now genuinely say, power to the people. Madam Speaker, twali karakare, takabwererepo, I thank you.
Meaning, Honorable Minister, meaning.
Madam Speaker, we are now here as the New Dawn government, and the fallen PF will never come back. This is Zambian politics. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister of Muchinga Province.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I wish to thank for giving me an opportunity to debate on the speech that was delivered by His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Zambia. Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, on 9th September 2022. From the onset, Madam Speaker, I wish to state that the message delivered by His Excellency, the President, was excellent and on point, as it inspired and brought hope to the people of Zambia and Muchinga province in particular. Madam Speaker, I will focus on two things, on two key issues highlighted by the President through his address. One of the issues highlighted in the speech was the determination of the new Dawn government to transform this country into an industrialization nation with the participation of all citizens and in partnership with the private sector. The President, during his address to this August House, also emphasized on the need to work closely with the private sector in the exploiting the opportunities available in the region and international markets. On the first issue of industrialization, the nation, Muchinga Provincial Administration, in collaboration with the private sector, has embarked on provincial-driven development initiative through the hosting of an investment forum and expo in the month of October 2023. Madam Speaker, the aim of this event is to showcase the various investment potential and opportunities available in the province in sectors such as agriculture, tourism, mining, energy, and manufacturing, value addition to name but a few. Madam Speaker, as a province, we do not want the planned investment expo to remain a talk show, but rather result in the industrialization of the nation and the creation of various job opportunities for our people. Madam Speaker, provincial administration has therefore embarked on a spirited campaign to engage the private sector way before the event so that they can take advantage of the good investment policies of the current government and investment in the region. Madam Speaker, the address by His Excellency, the President, to this House also touched on the need to explore the various market opportunities available in the region and world at large, so as to enhance the contribution of trade and industry to job creation and economic growth. I'm glad to announce that various companies, cooperatives, and associations in Muchinga province have already taken advantage of this political will of the new Dawn administration by penetrating the outside market to grow their investment and businesses. Madam Speaker, for instance, the Avocado Association in the province, working in collaboration with the sister cooperative from Lusaka, recently took part in exporting 20 tons of avocado to later 7 tons of same fruits to Italy and Dubai, respectively. Yes. The association has gone a step further by engaging other local farmers in the province to begin growing avocado using an outgrower scheme model so that the province becomes one of the leading growers of avocados in the country for the outside market. Madam Speaker, in conclusion, I wish to urge all well-meaning Zambians to continue supporting the President, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, and the UPND government because the country has already been brought back on the right development path. Indeed, this is the leadership that Zambians want, even beyond 2031. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister of Northern Province.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The good people of Northern Province would like to extend a note of gratitude to the President of the Republic of Zambia, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, for his inspiring speech. The President's speech is a reflection of the determination and resolve of the United Party for National Development, UPND, to diligently serve and deliver development to the people of Zambia, even in this difficult and challenging period. I also sincerely extend my heartfelt thanks to all the honorable members in this August House who moved the motion of thanks before me. Madam Speaker, His Excellency spoke about the various things being provided by the government to all the citizens of this country, regardless of race, tribe, ethnicity, region, or other things. Among the many things the government has provided and will continue to provide is the actualization of the decentralization policy, where we have seen an astronomical increase in the CDF, empowerment of small businesses, our youths, women, and also free education from lower to secondary school. The President mentioned all these things in detail in his address to the nation. Every single word in his address instills a new faith in our citizens and inspired every citizen to do something for this country. For this, no number of words will be sufficient to express our gratitude. Indeed, the New Dawn administration has prioritized the implementation of socio-economic interventions aimed at stabilizing, repairing, and reviving our economy. Madam Speaker, with our resilience, cultural unity, and traditions, and support from our patriotic citizens, today Zambia has achieved a compelling position not only in Africa, but in the world, and this has brought a ray of hope for our people. Zambia was almost being abandoned by great nations and institutions because of bad leadership. We extended the past unforgettable decade. But under the able leadership of His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Zambia, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, we have emerged as a strong player on the world stage. We have established our credentials in the world on the basis of strong leadership who support all institutions of governance. This, Madam Speaker, has led to renewed investor confidence and foreign direct investment. Indeed, we are now in the Champions League. Madam Speaker, the statistics given by His Excellency in his address to this August House are infusing vigor in our economy. It is indicative of the fact that Zambian economy is emerging with great enthusiasm from its almost comatose state burdened by high debt just a year ago. This has led to the international financial institutions, among them the IMF and the World Bank, coming to the aid of this country. Madam Speaker, this government reflects the sentiments, both negative and positive, from the friends from your left who seem to be confrontational. This raucous noise and creating unnecessary debates in the nation on non-important issues seems to be a premeditated effort and a political game plan. But a planned political strategy is that the lies and false rumors being spread shall soon get busted and truth shall rightfully prevail. It will eventually get difficult for them to be relevant. They can continue to create chaos, but should be rest assured that they will never win the trust of our people who have moved with the UPND forward, and we are just moving from one step to the other, going forward, not looking behind. We must save this country from these traitors. They engage in spreading lies and rumors, mislead the nation, and try to take the country under siege. Our nation is diverse, and so are the aspirations of the common citizens, and we should remain focused in developing this country. Madam Speaker.
Order, Honorable Minister, I didn't want to interrupt, but the word traitors is unparliamentary. Maybe you can replace it.
Madam Speaker, I withdraw. Madam Speaker, we have also been in the opposition. You must have noticed then that we were raising our voices on matters of national importance and corner the corrupt leaders of the then ruling party. We would strengthen our voices and we would make honest efforts. I am shocked that today opposition leaders are not interested in discussing matters of national development. I keep waiting that they will raise their concerns and we will get a chance to share about the good works that we are engaged in. But they rarely give us this opportunity. Since there is no such concern now, they have nothing left to say on these critical and crucial matters. Hence, they have stopped asking how many roads, how many bridges, how many schools, what we are going to build. Rather, they are talking about homosexuality and things that don't give value to the Zambian people. Madam Speaker, the people of Northern Province have got high hopes.
Order, Honorable Minister, order. There is a Honorable Member for Shiwangandu, you have a point of order. I wasn't going to allow, but because...
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. It's compelling. Madam Speaker, this is a time when our colleagues on your right-hand side must give clear policy statements as it relates to the speech by the President. I've been saddened to raise this point of order when our former member of Patriotic Front and former candidate would opt to veer off from the policy statement, and I doubt if technocrats wrote that speech. He's reading.
Order.
Is in order, Madam Speaker.
Order. As the time is 1640 hours, I suspend business for 20 minutes for a health break.
You're tuned in to Parliament television. Business has been suspended until 17 hours, and on the floor of the House was a Shiwangandu Member of Parliament, Honorable Kampyongo, raising on a point of order. This is actually in reaction to the debate that's on the floor of the House by Northern Province Minister. And so members of Parliament are currently debating the motion of thanks, His Excellency's address.
Right, I'll be back on the other side. In the meantime, we'll also take a short break. Keep watching Parliament Television.
Your favorite program, which is Voice of the People, is back on your screens, and thank you so much for your time. And today we look at a very, very important topic, and this is the role of whips in the House. My name is Paul Sentindov, and I did take around the city of Lusaka just to interact with local people to find out what they understand about this word whip.
So a chief whip is a leader that's elected by fellow MPs in the House that ensures that there's order, that MPs are following the rules and the code of conduct that's set for them as MPs during the deliberations and the sessions.
A whip is a person who ensures order in Parliament.
The task of a whip is to make sure that members of Parliament in the legislature, they vote according to the ideologies of a political party and not according to their personal ideology. For example, if there's a policy that members of Parliament are deliberating on, a chief whip will make sure that respective members of Parliament from respective political parties, they vote in the interest of the party and not their own interest.
My guest on today's program is Agi Mumbi, who is a Senior Research Officer here at the National Assembly under the Research Department. Thank you so much for joining us on The Voice of the People.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ndovi. I'm glad to be here, and thank you for having me.
Briefly tell us what you do here at the National Assembly as a research officer under the Research Department.
Well, basically what the Research Department is responsible of is the provision of information to members of, staff members of Parliament, who are primary stakeholders, and then of course senior management, and by extension the members of the public, those who are required to know anything about Parliament and the functions of the National Assembly.
I did take some time just to interact with the local people to find out what they know about this critical word, which is WEEP. Maybe for starters, what does the word WEEP mean?
Okay, so let me briefly talk about where the word whip is coming from. To a layman, the word whip will probably mean just whipping, the way we whip children, you know. But from our parliament circles, I want to state that this word is coming from the British. As you may be aware, we were colonized by Britain, so most of our practices and procedure, parliamentary practice and procedure, were adopted from the British. So even this one, the word whip, is coming from the British. They had a sport, you know, where it was called hunting foxes. So they will try to ensure that as they are hunting them, they are ensuring that they are taken in a certain direction, in a particular direction, so that they don't stray away. So that's where the word whip is coming from. It's basically whipping. So in our context now, coming back to home, what a parliamentary whip means is that this is a member who is part of either the political party in the government, the ruling party, or a member who is from the opposition party, or an independent member who is, an independent member, but from the elected from amongst the independent members, has been appointed to support the members of, to support the presiding officers to ensure that they maintain order and the decorum of the House. And there are other functions that have been provided for the whips. That is either the government whip, the independent whip, or the party whip. There are functions that have been provided for them by our standing orders, the National Assembly Standing Orders number 21. So Standing Order 45, 47, and 48, up to 49 actually, they provide for the functions of the whip. So maybe later on I can talk about their functions in detail.
What are the qualities or qualifications one needs to possess to hold such a position as a whip in the House?
First and foremost, you must be a member of Parliament. And if you have to be a government whip, we expect members who are well experienced as parliamentarians. So those are some of the qualifications. In addition, they should be able to possess leadership qualities, because that is very key for them to execute their role as a whip.
What are the different roles that these whips play? Let's begin with the government chief whip.
Correct, yeah. So one of the major functions of the government chief whip is to ensure that they liaise regularly with the Speaker, the leader of government business. In our context at Parliament, we call them leader of government business, but out there it's the Vice President. So they also liaise regularly with the leader of the opposition to ensure that House business is effectively conducted here at Parliament. So what do I mean by liaising regularly to ensure that House business is well conducted? This simply means that they are part of one of the important committees that we have here at Parliament. In fact, there are two important committees that the government chief whip belongs to, as well as, let me just include it, as well as the opposition whip. They are also part of the Standing Orders Committee, as well as the House Business Committee. So these committees, they are there to ensure that business of the House is well articulated, well lined up. There's a program to be followed, and everything runs smoothly and delivered according to the manner that the people of Zambia expect. So that's one of the functions. Secondly, they are there to support the presiding officers to ensure that there's peace, there's order in the House. It's an important House. We call it an honorable House. There should be peace, there should be order, and the decorum of the House is preserved. That is another role of the government whip. Further, the government whip is also there to ensure that when the House is voting, you know, the House will preside over so many issues. There are times they have to vote in case there's a division or they want to make a resolution. So the government chief whip should ensure that his members of the members of his political party, they are enough to ensure that they vote according to the party position. We call it towing the party line. So the government chief whip has to ensure that there are enough members in the House who should vote on that particular position and come to a resolution as expected by the party. In addition, they are also there to give permission to their members of the party. For example, if someone is not able to attend House business on that particular day, they can actually call the government chief whip or their party whip, as we are calling it, to ensure that they get permission so that they are off duty on that particular day. You know, as you may be aware, and as for the sake of our viewers, we are expected to have a quorum in the House. Business of the House cannot take place as long as there's a quorum, and that is at least 1/3 of the members of Parliament should be present before business can begin. So it's the role of the chief whip, the role of the government whip, to ensure that the quorum is met, or else business will pass on that particular day and nothing will be done on that particular day. So it's the role of the whip to ensure that the members of Parliament are around and they attend to House business in accordance with their
Let's move on from the role of the chief whip. We go to the opposition whip.
So similarly, the opposition whip, or also the independent whip. Now we have a new innovation. We have an independent whip. This simply means that if they are independent members, as long as they are more than 10 or 10 or more, they should also select one of their own to act as a whip, somebody to support them, somebody to inform them of parliamentary business, to update them of what's going on or what business will be deliberated on that particular day. So even the independent whips, they should do they actually do the same thing that the chief whip does, and so does the opposition whip, is to ensure that they gather, or rather they ensure that their members of Parliament are there to transact business of the House in accordance with the requirements of their parties, or in accordance with the requirements of the independent members. So they basically do almost the same things that they do.
What is the difference? Maybe one would want to understand the difference between a chief whip and a party whip.
Thank you. So a government chief whip is appointed by the ruling party. The government chief whip, rather, comes from the political party that is ruling. Then we have the opposition whip. The opposition whip is coming from a political party that has members of Parliament who are at least 10 or more. And then, of course, we have the independent members of Parliament. They also have a representative, who is an independent whip.
As we come to the end of this interesting program, what could be your concluding remarks?
Well, I can simply say that this is a very important function of Parliament as a political structure. You know, we have structures in Parliament that help us to run Parliament smoothly. So this is a very important task. And it simply shows that we need leaders at every stage of our lives. And this is exactly what the government chief whip, the independent whip, the opposition whip, this is what they do. They are there to ensure that parliamentary business is conducted in a manner that is acceptable, and to ensure that members of Parliament are executing their functions accordingly.
Would you safely say that the leader of the opposition is also a whip in the House?
Not at all. He is a leader in his own context, but he's not a whip, because the leader of the opposition has his own specific roles. So the leader of the opposition is not a whip.
Madam Agi, thank you so much for making an appearance on today's Voice of the People.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Well, just hope and trust you've learned one or two things on today's Voice of the People. And my guest on the program today was Mrs. Agi Mumbi, who is a Senior Research Officer here at the National Assembly under the Research Department. We'll be back next week at the same time. My name is Paul Sentendovi. Keep watching Parliament Television.
name's Jean Chisengangandwe, and I was born in 1989 in Mwense district. I come from a family of 7 and I'm fourth born. I went to school in Mansa for my primary school. I then after went to Ndola for my secondary school. I also later on went to Australian Institute of Business and Technology, where I did my foundations of law, and later on Cavendish University for my bachelor's. I later on found myself on the floor of the House, having contested against 7 men. My constituency is not so vast. I have about 35,000 people there, and we have 10 wards. Our livelihood there is fishing and farming. And we're also trying to find new ways of living for our people, because we are really entirely depend on fishing. And you know, our fish that side has literally depleted. We are looking for a new way of livelihood. I'm looking at education, water, sanitation, and then health. But you know, even when you have an education and then you don't have a good health, then it doesn't mean anything. So my 2 priorities are water and health. So with the coming of CDF, we are hoping we can make a few adjustments, starting especially with water and health. And as it were, we are also trying to lobby from our cooperating partners and other companies to see how they can come in and help us, so that we enhance our health care as well as water development in the constituency. I first of all want to thank them, because it wasn't easy looking at the support that they had given me, because I've already stated that I was contesting amongst men, older men who are not youths actually. So there was a lot of intimidation, there was a lot of words that came from different kinds of people. But here I am today. I want to assure the people of Mambilima that just as I promised when we were working, I want to deliver, especially to the youths and the women that had put in their effort, sleepless nights to support me. They had given up their homes, some of them, just so they could support. So I pledge to work for them.
The House took a 20-minute break at 16:40 hours, and so in a couple of minutes, just under 2 minutes time, we expect to cross back on the floor of the House as the House continues to consider motion of thanks to His Excellency the President's address. Like Claudette had indicated at the time that business was interrupted, Shuang and the Member of Parliament, Mr. Stephen Kampyongo, was raising a point of order against the member on the floor of the House, that is Northern Province Minister Honorable Leonard Mbao, was debating to the motion of thanks.
So some of the ministers that have debated the motion of thanks so far include Central Province Minister Honorable Manjua. We also had Agriculture Minister Honorable Piri, Sports Minister Honorable Elvis Mkandu, Local Government Youth Development Minister Honorable Gary.
All right, we also had Mr. Elias Mubanga, Minister for Small, Medium and Medium Enterprise Development. We had Health Minister Honorable Sylvia Masewo, Information and Broadcasting Minister Honorable Kushka Sanda, as well as Western Province Minister Honorable Kapelo Mbangweta, was followed by the Government Deputy Chief Whip, who's also a Member of Parliament, Honorable Princess Kasune. We had Honorable Peter Piri, Eastern Province, as well as Honorable Enris Kazwe, Muchinga Province Minister, also adding their voices.
So we do expect a Northern Province Minister to finish off his debate immediately after the break. This is, of course, after Madam Speaker does react to the point of order that Honorable Kampingo did raise just before the break.
Right.
Earlier on, we did have an announcement. Madam Speaker did inform the House that the National Assembly of Zambia has established the Zambia Youth Parliamentary Caucus, a voluntary group consisting of youth members of Parliament who are passionate about the youth and would like to advance youth interests in Parliament. And the caucus is therefore set to be launched tomorrow, Wednesday, 28 September 2022, at Parliament Buildings in the Amphitheatre at 09 Nigeria. In this regard, honourable members of Parliament are encouraged to attend the event. Of course, Madam Speaker did say that attendance will be on a voluntary basis.
And Honorable Madam Speaker also acquainted the House with the presence on the Speaker's gallery of Honorable Neema Lungangira, Member of Parliament from the Parliament of Tanzania and Chairperson of the African Parliamentary Network on Internet Governance, APNIG. And on the behalf of the National Assembly, the guest was welcomed warmly in the midst. And so we also had a ruling that was presented on the floor of the House, but we'll be looking at these highlights at the end.
When business was suspended, the House was considering the motion moved by the Honorable Member for Kawe Central, and that the thanks of this Assembly be recorded for the exposition of the public policy contained in the President's address, and the Honorable Member for Shuangandu was raising a point of order on the Minister of Northern Province. May the Honorable Member for Shuangandu continue.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker, and we welcome you in the seat. Mr. Speaker, I'd just risen on a point of order pursuant to Standing Order 65 and 109. I was sitting here trying to enjoy on the debate of the Honorable Minister for Northern Province, hoping he will get to a point where he could inspire the people of Northern Province by making policy pronouncements, developmental ones related to the presidential speech. I'll ask Mr. Speaker, the Honorable Member of Parliament, Minister, opted to veer off from the presidential speech and was using language that was sounding vulgar and unparliamentary. It had to take the speaker to rule him out on one of them, but he continued making unsubstantiated allegations over all of us. Knowing the more I used to know him as our member, in whom I was so proud, up to the last minute, Mr. Speaker, was in order to make insinuations that were even bordering on him Because when you were saying traitors of the party belonged to, I would want to know at what point is true. But anyway, it was in order, Mr. Speaker, to veer off from the presidential speech and go to town with what is referred to as chiringalinga. You know, a debate which has gone no head and tail, which is not expected of the minister, because now we expect policy from ministers and their line ministries. Was in order, Mr. Speaker. I seek your serious guidance on the Honorable Minister of Northern Province so that he can inspire his people who are watching and listening attentively.
Okay.
I seek your guidance, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Member. But as you are aware that the ministers are at liberty to answer or to make statements as regards to government position, and no one whatsoever can compel them to say what we think they should say, as they are stating government policy. Thank you. May the Honorable Minister of Northern Province continue.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It is very good, and I want to thank my brother for, it is still my brother, for claiming me, so that you are one of us. Because when you are being claimed, it means you are doing fine where you are and where you are coming from. Mr. Speaker, as our colleagues continue spreading false apprehensions and false narratives, this government will continue with the mandate of increasing investment in sectors like agriculture, mining, tourism, providing internet connectivity to our citizens, something which our friends failed, and manufacturing to grow our economy. Our efforts should be in this direction. Implications of advanced infrastructure would mean providing new growth opportunities and an enabling environment for the development of the deprived. It would open up amazing possibilities of employment as well. It has the potential to bring a multiplier effect in the economy. This government, Mr. Speaker, is ensuring that no part of this country remains untouched in the journey of growth development. Such is our idea of achieving a progressive and developing nation and attain our vision 2030. Mr. Speaker, this government is a government that walks the talk. Last year when the president of this country came here to issue a statement, we are very, very sure, even our friends on your left, Mr. Speaker, can attest to say that 100% of the things, maybe I should say 120% of the things that the president presented here were actually have already been done. I'll give you an example. Our president, President Hakainde Hichilema, Commander-in-Chief of Armed Forces. Mr. Speaker, our president mentioned about Kasaba Bay. As we are talking to you now, our people in Northern Province are very, very happy because our president has sourced money to make sure that Kasaba Bay is done. Now, this Kasaba Bay is the one that was started under MMD government some years ago in 2008. When our friends came into power, they even went away with what they left on site. Today, we are reviving that issue. Kasama Airport, which was signed in 2014, a very small amount that was required, our friends failed to find that money. Today, before December, Kasama Airport will be operational because this president has found money. Mr. Speaker, our president is a president who walks the talk. Our president, this government, is the government that we should have for a very long time. Mr. Speaker, I thank you.
Order. There's still time, more ministers. Today is the time for ministers to respond. The Honorable Minister of Labour.
Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, oh, the other one. Sorry. Mr. Speaker, I wish to thank you for according me this opportunity to contribute to the debate on the speech delivered by the one and only President of the Republic of Zambia, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, during the official opening of the second session of the 13th National Assembly. The President, in his speech, outlined the New Dawn government's development agenda, which is firmly anchored in the 8th National Development Plan, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the President, in his speech, in paragraph 2 on page 1, refers to us being successful, our successful year in office. Notable amongst the successes was, of course, relating to my ministry's mandate, the creation of over 40,000 direct jobs from the Ministry of Education. Never in the history, Mr. Speaker, of this country have 30,496 teachers been recruited in a single year. This is unprecedented. As if this was not enough, the New Dawn government yet again recruited 11,276 health professionals at once. Mr. Speaker, this government has not ended there, but it is also in the process of recruiting an additional 4,000 civil servants across various ministries whose Treasury authority has already been granted and will be employed before December 2022, and many more which are in the pipeline. Mr. Speaker, the New Dawn government's drive for job creation is not limited, of course, to the creation of jobs in the public sector, in the government of the Republic of Zambia, but also through private sector facilitation. As Minister of Labor and Social Security, I am proud to acknowledge that the planned $1.35 billion, which has been pumped in by the nickel mine project in Kalumbila by FQM, and the expansion of the Kansanshi mine in Solwezi district, which the New Dawn government has successfully facilitated, is expected to also add on and create about 18,000 direct and indirect jobs for our people. All these are unprecedented milestones that relate to what the President referred to as a successful year in office. Mr. Speaker, on page 9, the President clearly outlined various strategies that government is pursuing in order to create jobs for the Zambian people. Notable amongst the several interventions aimed at creating jobs, Mr. Speaker, the President highlighted increased support to small and medium enterprises through Citizen Economic Empowerment Commission, increased allocation towards the Constituency Development Fund, which is yielding jobs across all the 155 constituencies, and increased investment in agriculture, mining, tourism, and manufacturing. In addition, government has provided a conducive environment for job creation. To this end, the New Dawn government has created the public-private dialogue forum called the PPDF to unlock regulatory and administrative barriers to private sector growth and proliferation. I am happy, Mr. Speaker, to note that the public-private dialogue forum model is similar to the social dialogue mechanism, which has worked to good effect to cement relationships between government, employers, and employees' organizations, thereby guaranteeing industrial harmony. Undeniably, Mr. Speaker, both are based on the principles of mutual respect and understanding. Mr. Speaker, another milestone is that of pensioners. Many pensioners that went beyond 20 years without being paid over the past years. Even the past administration failed to pay them. Mr. Speaker, we, under the New Dawn administration led by the President, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, has made a critical part of this milestone and paid off a lot of the pensioners. Mr. Speaker, as a ministry mandated to provide regulatory oversight over the labor and industrial matters, we take note that on page 36, the President outlines measures being implemented to strengthen the policy and governance environment, rule of law, human rights, and constitutionalism. Further on page 43, the President reiterates that the New Dawn government's belief in the respect of human rights, civil liberties, and freedoms as guaranteed by the Constitution. To this effect, Mr. Speaker, the Ministry of Labour and Social Security will strengthen mechanisms, systems, and procedures that were never worked on and have been absent in most of the transactions of the ministry in the way it manages the matters relating to the workplace. For promoting social dialogue, reforming and optimizing compliance to labor laws, extending application of the occupational safety and health standard in line with current international best practices, broadening and enhancing social security coverage, and mainstreaming productivity improvement practices as well. Mr. Speaker, good governance also translates to strict adherence to workplace management practices. As demonstrated, as a demonstration of government's commitment to supporting good governance, promoting social dialogue, and enhancing productivity, the Zambia Institute of Human Resource Management Act number 3 of 2022 was enacted and signed off by His Excellency the President in April 2022. The Act is aimed at facilitating effective regulation, standardization, and enforcement of human resource management practices that protect and promote the rights of workers. In this respect, the Act provides guidance on the competences required to effectively manage human resource, thereby ensuring adherence to the labor laws. Mr. Speaker, further, in the promotion of good governance and respect for human rights by the President of the New Dawn government, my ministry has embarked on a rigorous campaign to extend and enhance social security coverage through reforms that include amendments to the National Pension Scheme Act and the Workers' Compensation Act. The President's speech also brings impetus to my ministry's mandate of transforming the National Health Insurance Management Authority, NIMA, into a world-class provider of affordable and sustainable health insurance. Mr. Speaker, on page 10 of the speech, the President highlights low productivity in the agricultural sector and the need to improve sector-wide productivity. Indeed, increasing the national productivity is key to unlocking the economic and developmental potential of the country. Therefore, the Ministry of Labour and Social Security, as part of the mission or its mission of promoting decent work and productivity for inclusive economic development, has stepped up implementation of the national productivity policy. To gain traction in mainstreaming productivity, Mr. Speaker, the ministry is collaborating together with the Remuneration Division of Cabinet and the Parliamentary and National Guidance and Religious Affairs Division under the Office of the Vice President to enhance productivity in all line ministries and other government institutions. Mr. Speaker, as I conclude, the President highlights initiatives to mitigate the high youth unemployment that has been referred to already by ensuring that the citizens, particularly the youth, women, older persons, and Mr. Speaker, I thank you.
More debaters, honorable ministers, those of you that are ready, that haven't debated. Her Honor, the Vice President, adjournment.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that the House do now adjourn.
The question is that the House now do adjourn. Any debate? Any objection? The question is agreed to. The House is now adjourned.
Pictures are coming your way. And that now brings us to the end of today's live parliamentary proceedings. Today, Tuesday, 27th September 2022. And so before we go, we'll have a recap of business that has been considered on the floor of the House starting at 14:30 hours.
All right, we'll look at the first announcement in which Madam Speaker informed the House that the National Assembly of Zambia has established a Zambian Youth Parliamentary Caucus, ZYPC, which is a voluntary group consisting of youthful members of Parliament who are passionate about the youth and would like to advance youth's interest in Parliament, and that the caucus will therefore be launched tomorrow, Wednesday, the 28th of September 2022 at Parliament Buildings in the amphitheatre at 9 hours. And in this regard, honourable members of Parliament were encouraged to attend the event. And we had the second announcement.
Absolutely. The second announcement, Madam Speaker acquainted the House with the presence and the Speaker's